thought I had a little more time to make my coffee. Sorry about that. What is up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Stories After Dark. This is your boy, Evil Outcast. Starting off the burps already. Welcome you all to a new episode of Stories After Dark. I already said that. Look at me. Trying to get ready for being on time for my live stream, and I'm already fucking up. Well, technically I'm like 4 minutes behind, but anyways, as you all know, to some of you coming in, Stories After Dark is where I live read all your favorite creepypastas and stories you probably never heard of from the web, and stories you might have heard on my channel. So before we get into some stories to close out your night, let's go. Yes, Jarvis, thank you. Let me put that on vibrate. Shit. Let's go ahead and do some shoutouts, starting with the chat. Let's see here. We got Smiley Bonga. What's up? I hope you're doing well. Welcome. Welcome. And we have Subject Illuminate. What's up? Haven't seen you in a long time. I know we chatted recently, but I'm glad you're back in the game, man. I hope to see some new music from you very soon. And we got As the News Titans. Go boy, what's up? You found my hole. You found my hole. What are you talking about, Go? Cool Cat, what's up? Yes, I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well too. Ah, shit. It's Bleep Bloop. What's up? Hey, you better act right, Bleep Bloop. Otherwise, one of my rounds is gonna time you out, or I'm gonna time you out. Don't provoke the gods. And of course, we got Nightbot here promoting my shit, saying to get your official Evil Outcast merch at teespring.com. And special shoutouts go to my Patreons, Cool Cat. Oh, my hole in the wall. Yeah, I like to hide there. Mainly because I don't like overstaying my welcome. And I know some people are like, get your ass out of that hole. You ain't overstaying shit. Motherfucker, there is a limit. Okay? So don't tell me that I'm not overstaying my welcome, okay? I mean, yes, it's good to have friends, but sometimes y'all need to get the fuck away from each other. And wait. And of course, I get any privacy around here. And there's some lurkers. Lila! What's up? I'm glad you made it. I know it's like late at night, but... Meow meow! What's up? Hey, I've been trying to contact you. I hope everything's okay. Let's see. Subject says, oh hell yeah. Also hope everything is doing well over there while things are still hectic. Yeah, we're all trying to get by here. I mean, I just came back from Walmart earlier tonight, and it was fucking madness. It came to the point where every fucking register was like open, and it was like, okay, everything's over. Get your shit and get out. Smiley Bunga, aka Brenda, says, I'm here, I'm just messing with my phone. And how are you messing with your phone, Brenda? You and your husband doing a little something, in separate rooms while on the phone? No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad you're here. Lila says, I keep forgetting to make a merch store. Oops. Well, it's easy to make a merch store. It's just hard to, like, come up with a design. Well, easy to come up with a design, but it's a little complex just to put it on a t-shirt. But if you ever need help, I'm here. Smiley's laughing because of it. And whatever. Cool Cat says, I'm doing okay, EO. Just really knackered from working and other stuff. And, well, try to rest up, okay? I don't know if we work tonight. I don't know if we work today over there, but if you do, I hope some of my readings might help you relax. And to some of you who don't know, Cool Cat, aka Kitty Emily, is from the UK. And the reason I'm calling her Katie is because apparently she has it plastered on her Twitter. So there. But I still call her Cool Cat. You're gonna use Spreadshirt? Yes, I heard it's I definitely heard it's a good place, and they take special care of your mugs. Cause I won a mug from Gothic Rose, and she uses Spreadshirt, and they handle that shit with care. They only use bubble wrap, but they use this kind of special boxing type of box where they make sure every part of the cardboard is like securing the cup and it doesn't break, like with Teespring when they sent in my design mug the first time and it broke, and I was not happy about that. Aww, but meow meow, I just got you back. Don't leave. Stay a while. Miss you. Love you and sister. Yes. Good night. Night, everything. And I saw Dark Somnium just posted that he's going live with his stories. So I'm guessing everybody's just going to be fucking off over there. Son of a bitch. But I don't want to disappoint you all. I did say that I was going to bring you some stories. So let's do that. And hopefully my phone doesn't crap out on me. So we're gonna start off with a I think this is a classic. I think this is a classic creepypasta. Yeah, it's a classic. It's just riddled with ads and shit. But it's from creepypasta.com. And here comes the first ad, which is going to be a bullshit thing. I am working today, unfortunately, but I don't need to get paid for work yet. Well, that's good. It says Cool Cat. As News Times says, last time I'm using FedEx, got a box that looked like it was in a Stampede, and I paid shipping and handling. Well, if I were you, I call them up and bitch them out, try to get compensation. Anyways, this story is written by Unknown because it is a classic creepypasta. Coffee. And this story is called Doors. I was adopted. I never knew my real mother. Rather, I knew her at one time, but I left her side when I was too little to be able to remember. I loved my adopted family, though. God. They were so kind to me. I ate well. I lived in a warm and comfortable house, and I got to stay up pretty late. Let me tell you about my family real fast. First is my mother. I never called her mom or anything like that. I just called her by her first name, Janice. She didn't mind that. She didn't mind at all, though. I called her that for so long. I don't think she even noticed. Anyhow, she was a very kind woman. I think that she is she is the only one who recommended my adoption in the first place. Sometimes I would lay my head against her in front of the television, and she would tickle my back with her nails. She is one of those Hollywood mothers. Hey, Sarah's Death. What's up? How you doing? Oh, I forgot to do a mic check. Hang on. Yeah, I was very fucking low. Okay. What's up? Welcome to the show. I hope you all enjoy your time here. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yes. Well, I'm glad, Saris. Just sit back, relax, grab yourself a drink, maybe some popcorn, and settle in while you hear, listen to me live read to you all. And there's that. Okay, I'm going to start from here. Sometimes I would lay my head against her in front of the television, and she would tickle my back with her nails. She was one of those Hollywood mothers. Second, there's Dad. His real name was Richard, but he never really liked me much, so I began to refer to him as Dad in a desperate attempt to gain his affection. It didn't work. I think that no matter what I called him, he would never love me as much as he loved his own child. No, he would never love me as much as his own child. That's understandable, so I really didn't press the matter. The most notable attribute of Dad was his unmoving sternness. He was not afraid to pop his children when they did something wrong. I found that out before I could use the restroom properly. He didn't hesitate to spank me. Well, I'm in line, and it's because of his methods. Lastly is my sister. Little Emily was really young when I was adopted. So we were about the same age. But she was slightly older. Well, I'm glad you were here, Saris. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you stay a while. And I had a viewership of 8 people here. Now it's down to 6. Damn Dark Samian. Nah, I'm just kidding. Love you, Samian. Anyways. But she was slightly older. I like to think of her as my little sister, though. We got along better than any sibling could possibly get along. We would always stay up late together and just talk. Well, she did a lot of talking. She did a lot of the talking. I mostly just listened because I loved her. It was a great setup that we had. We were short on bedrooms, so because I didn't want to sleep in the living room all by myself when I was little, I had a pallet set up I had a pallet set up for me next to her bed on the floor. This is where I had slept since. But it was cool with me because I enjoyed being with her, and I had always felt pretty protective of my little sis. Everything changed on a horrible Wednesday night. I was at home, taking a nap, when little Emily opened the front door. The sound of the door opening pulled me to the state of consciousness, and I walked from the room down the hall to the living room. That's when I first remembered it was Wednesday. I was never any good at keeping track of what day it was. Actually, I'll just go ahead and say it. My sense of time was horrible. But nevertheless, I knew it was Wednesday because Emily had just come home from a church youth group gathering. She walked in the front door and hugged me, and then was followed by Dad and Janice. "You have a good nap?" Janice said teasingly as she ruffled up my hair. I just shook my head away and snorted in a manner that clearly expressed that I was teasing back with her. Don't you snort at your mother like that," said my father, gruffly with authority. He shut the door behind him and hung his coat. "I was clearly joking," I growled underneath my breath. He must have not heard me because I didn't feel him smack me. Emily then proceeded to our room, and I followed. She started telling me about her day. You know, usual teenager girl stuff. But I listened so that she would feel better. After her summary, she suggested watching TV, and I obliged and jumped onto the couch as she was going for the remote. She rolled her eyes at my little brother-like immaturity and scooted me over and sat down. The TV turned on, and we watched it together until the sun went down. Emily was the kind of girl that, instead of watching cartoons and soap operas, would rather watch Discovery and Animal Planet and National Geographic. I liked those too, so I didn't mind. Actually, those were the only channels that can hold my attention. It got so late, and Janice walked up behind the sofa. "Emily, it's past your bedtime. Turn off the television and go to your room." "You too," she pointed at me. Emily turned off the program. We were watching grudgingly and stood up. She started down. There we go. Little notification. "Hey, Tingly Horror, what's up? Gotta leave for work in a few minutes. Just wanted to drop in and wish you all a wonderful and safe weekend." Oh, well, thanks for dropping by, and thank you so much for the warm greeting. I hope you have a warm and safe, wonderful and safe weekend as well. Stay safe out there. Protect yourself. Okay. She started down the hallway to our room. As I followed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. We went into our room, and Emily turned off the light. Just as she did, I caught a flash of movement out of the corner of my eye. It was out the window, but as soon as I redirected my line of sight to where the window was no longer in my peripheral vision, what it was that I thought I saw was gone. I still remained alert, for my sister's sake. I lay there in the darkness with nothing but the thin ray of light from the street lamp outside to illuminate the room. It wasn't much. Time and time again, I could have sworn that I heard subtle sounds just out the window. A twig break, leaves crunching, clothes jostling, and all the while, I could smell a faint stench of sweat and blood. I kept my eyes open most of the night. The sounds outside subsided, and the smell left my nose. I began to feel at ease. My eyelids closed. Not long after that, I heard a very loud crash on the other side of the house. I was up in an instant. "There's someone in the house!" I barked with extreme adrenaline coursing through me. "Wake up!" I shrilly pleaded with Emily. She didn't, and as soon as I saw her sit up, I ran to my parents' room. Dad was dead. His neck was splayed open and gaping as blood spilled out of it, off the bed and onto the floor. I saw that the master bedroom's door was closed just before it. On the outside was a man. A man I don't feel comfortable calling it that. He was very large and rugged. He didn't turn around. He turned around and saw me, and that's when I saw him accurately for the first time. I won't forget it. His eyes were large and beady and trapped with lust. He began styling his beard. He was styling a beard that was badly unkept with blood dripping off. His clothes were dirty and his face was cold. Just then I noticed the same horrid smell of sweat and blood from earlier, but this time it was overwhelming. He saw me. He saw me and grinned with a set of crooked yellow teeth. That smile threw me off. I thought I was going to die, but then he turned back to the bathroom door, completely unperturbed by my presence. I was terrified and didn't know what to do. I just yelled and cried. I watched as he shouldered through the door. That was my mom's only protection. I watched as he raised a large razor that he was carrying, but had obviously neglected to use it properly. I watched as he sliced her open and tore her to shreds. I then heard something. The last thing that I wanted to hear. It was Emily screaming, coming from behind me. The large monstrosity looked up from my butchered mother and stared at my little sister. I was distraught. I stood up quickly and started walking toward. He stood up quickly and started walking towards us. My sister turned and ran, and I was at a loss when he bypassed me and went straight after her. Why was she still in the house? Had she not assessed the situation and run? Apparently not. And now she was dead and I was alone. After I ran after them both. I expected the man to kill her as he had the rest of my family. I was sadly mistaken. He grabbed her by the arm and jerked her as a way to make clear that he was in control. He dragged her through the house. I was making all the noise I could now, hoping and praying that someone would come to my aid. He mustn't take her, not her. As he passed me, I backed against the wall, and I whimpered with terror. Why? He didn't respond, except by putting his free hand on my head while Emily screamed in the others and saying, "Good boy." He gave another crooked grin and a very cold, unnatural laugh. I followed him to the door, where he dragged my helpless sister after him. He opened it, pulled her out, and slammed it shut behind me. I am now sitting in the house with my mutilated adopted parents, shivering and whimpering with dismay. He's out there with her, doing who knows what to her, and I can't do anything. I would if I could, but I can't. I would chase after them in a heartbeat, but I can't. I sit here, looking at the front door. I look down at my paws. If only I could open doors. And that was Doors. Credited to A.C. Johnson. And that was a classic creepypasta known as Doors. I hope I didn't put you all to sleep yet. And I see that Jensen's going live. Smalabonga says, wrong word I used. I meant I know this story. Sorry. I'm glad you know this story, and thank you for not giving any spoilers. Thumbs up from Sarah's Death. Thank you. You are amazing. Looks like I'm gonna have some top competition tonight. Dark Somnium, Jensen. There was another story that I'm going to continue looking. Oh, thank you, Saris. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. Should have gotten water instead of coffee. But I guess beggars can't be choosers. This next story is written by Creepy Thomas O. Content available under Creative Commons. I thank you, Saris. I'm glad you like the stream background. And I hope y'all can hear the campfire going off. Coolcat says, I'm still here just wondering if I should get ready for work or spend a bit more time in bed. That all depends what time you have to go to work. I gotta double check and see if the background is still playing. Because it's supposed to be campfire. Media source. Yeah, it's still going. So that's good. Let me check the playback. Okay, it's still playing the playback. Yes, it's relaxing. I love campfires. Yeah, I figured I'd do some campfire background noise since everybody else is doing rainfalls or some shit like that. I haven't seen on Twitter one time that Raven Reeds posted a comment saying that some dude thinks that well, she was using rainfall noises for her background in her last video. And this dude went up and pretty much said that shower noises, he thought rainfall was shower noises. So I was like, really, dude? Fucking douchebag. My philosophy is, if you can't tell the difference between rainfall and a shower, then you're fucking deaf. Makes me want to go camping too. I agree, sirs. I think we all, after this COVID bullshit is over, after this Rona bullshit is over, we should all get together and go camping. It is pretty immense, honestly. Yes, I agree, subject. I'm glad I could be able to accommodate everybody with the appropriate ambiance. Cool Cat says, I start at 10 a.m., but I have to be at work at 9 a.m. as I'm meeting a friend, but it's only 6:30. That's up to you. If you want to wait a little bit long, then go ahead. Otherwise, try to plan accordingly. I don't want you to get in trouble. Saristat says, your merch is very well done. It's very appealing looking, especially with light blue. Well, thanks for checking out my merch. I could probably come up with a discount if you ever think about buying my merch. Just let me know. We need marshmallows to share with while we listen to your stories around the evil campfire. Yes. Yes, you are being cheerful. I love it. This next story is I read a while back when me and Cage Misery were together. We used to read stories to each other every night just to help us go to sleep. And I found this one in the Creepypasta Wiki, which was a Creepypasta of the month at the time. The story is called I did credit the author, known as Creepy Thomas O. This story is called The Well, the Wheel, and Wilhelm. Carl Wilhelm's left arm was the first limb that was smashed. The executioner's clubs shattered it with enough force so that witnesses in the back of the crowd could hear the cracking sound clearly. He cried out in agony as he laid across the span of an old wagon wheel. His limbs were tied fast to the wheel's edge, and the spokes supported his body. The wheel itself was on top of an old unused well, and Carl stared heavenward as the executioner encouraged and energized by the whooping and cheering of the crowd, dragged the large club along the ground as he positioned himself at Carl's right side. With all of his strength, the masked executioner brought the heavy instrument up above his head, and as the club reached its apex, the crowd paused in anxious anticipation. The club fell down, and Carl's right arm cracked under the blow. The crowd cheered uproariously. The man in the mask moved along to each of Carl's legs, breaking them both above and below the knee, bone protruding through the torn skin as blood dripped through the ruptures and into the well below. The crowd screamed with their approval and threw their rotten fruit at the condemned man. The executioner removed his mask and raised his arms to encourage the crowd to cheer further. His last strike landed on Carl's chest, breaking several of his ribs. Blood erupted from his mouth and nose. With that, the executioner dropped the club and stepped away from the well. Back from the back of the crowd, a boy about 10 studied Carl's gasping form. "He's still alive," the boy said to his uncle. "No, that's all part of the punishment, Victor," his uncle responded. He'll lay in pain. Death will take him when it's ready. I've never seen a man who lasted past sunset. I gotta change that voice. It's probably gonna be one time. The boy continued to study the dying man through the other onlookers, many of whom were taking turns spitting and urinating on Carl. Victor recalled the list of charges that Carl Wilhelm had been accused of. "What is lycanthropy?" he asked of his uncle. "It means you become a wolf. It's the mark of a wicked man." Victor nodded his understanding. "Can we stay and watch him die?" I have work to do, but you can stay until sunset. Don't forget I need help tonight at the tavern." "I'll be there," Victor assured him. As his uncle walked away, Victor could hear the broken man plead to the crowd with strained breaths. "Please, just kill me." This encouraged the horde more, and they jeered and roared at his predicament. However, as the afternoon heat began to take its toll, the excitement of the crowd began to wane. One by one, the men and the women left for their cottages and hovels until only Victor and a few others remained. The boy stepped closer to the dying man, with uncertainty apparent in each step. When he was as close as he dared, he pursed his lips and launched a flame projectile that struck Carl between his eyes. With great effort, Carl turned his head to where Victor stood. The two made eye contact. So thirsty, Carl rasped. Victor stared at the face of the accused man. Each of Carl's eyebrows reflected the swirling white clouds above him. Longer and longer Victor stared, losing track of time and relinquishing awareness of his surroundings. He had no idea how long he maintained eye contact with Carl Wilhelm. But when he finally broke this stare, it was almost sunset, and the village square was nearly empty. Victor backed away from the wheel and its man, and as he headed off to his uncle's tavern, he felt a twinge of regret that he had spit on someone so defenseless. His uncle's prediction that Carl would be dead by sunset proved to be entirely wrong. Those who lived nearest to the old well had their slumbers disturbed throughout the night as Carl screamed and moaned. His pleas for mercy and death went unanswered as the village residents held pillows and blankets over their heads in an attempt to drown out the horrid sounds of a dying man. Although the next day, Carl continued the ungodly shrieks and screeches as death refused to take him. Residents who just a day earlier had made merriment at the man's suffering soon found themselves anxious and disconcerted as his cries carried throughout the day and into the next. "Go get the executioner," some of them demanded. "Have him finish the job." The others argued against that. "No! He'll die when he's supposed to. No mercy for the wicked." On the third night, after his supposed execution, Carl Wilhelm still appeared to be very much alive, as proven by his unceasing cries of pain and request for mercy from his uncle's tavern. Victor could hear him clearly between pauses in the conversations. Frazzled patrons lined in the bar and occupied all the tables as Victor weaved in and out, bringing mugs to the tap for refilling, then returning them to the customers. Various discussions about the man outside dominated the night, and fear punctuated the dialogue as the men nervously proclaimed to understand what was going on. Hell doesn't want to take him. That's why he won't die," proclaimed Pierre the shoemaker. Others raised their mugs in nervous agreement. I don't think he's guilty at all," came a response from across the room. The men all paused and looked at Conrad Becker, one of the village's oldest men. "We're being punished, forced to listen to the cries of an innocent man until we go insane ourselves." How could he possibly be innocent?" others demanded. I looked into his eyes. I know the stare of innocence." The tavern became hushed as Conrad Becker spoke. "And that is why. And why should we believe the allegations against him? Did anyone observe him turning into the wolf?" The men all looked at each other, waiting to see who among them would stand up as a witness. The
The judges, the judges are, uh, the judges of the council are only interested in making a name for themselves. The truth doesn't concern them.
Victor's uncle spoke.
Then who tore apart Walter Ernest? And who ripped his daughter's head off? A giant wolf was seen walking on two legs outside of Carl's farm, and his hatred of Walter was well known. That's close enough for me. Who else could have done? Who could have been?
Cheers of agreement supported him. Conrad protested.
That's not even real evidence. Lots of people didn't like Walter Ernest. Some of them are in this bar right now. Then who is the lycanthrope if it isn't Carl Wilhelm?
No.
Then who is the lycanthrope that isn't Carl Wilhelm?
The men asked as they began to break into smaller discussions amongst themselves. They argued into the late night. They argued into the night. Most seemed to agree with that Carl Wilhelm was indeed guilty, but a few maintained his innocence. As the crowd dwindled, Victor said goodnight to his uncle and headed home. His trip was interrupted by the moaning of Carl Wilhelm. Victor's paces stopped, and after a moment's hesitation, he turned and walked towards the well, the wheel, and Wilhelm. As he approached, Wilhelm's ears twitched, and he seemed to sense Victor's presence.
Water,
came his strained request. Victor hesitated.
So thirsty,
Carl said in a raspy voice that was barely above a whisper. Victor viewed a pathetic form in front of him, and a stitch of sympathy took hold. He looked to the dewy ground and saw a small, dirty puddle where the night's condensation had collected. Glancing behind him to make sure no one was looking, Victor made a cup with his hands and bent down to gather as much of the water as he could. He carefully stood up and moved his hands over Carl's mouth. As he loosened his fingers, the water flowed down and dribbled into Carl's delirious maw. He repeated the act of mercy 2 more times, until the puddle gave no more water.
Thank you.
Victor noticed that Carl's voice was noticeably less raspy. You're welcome. Carl stared up into the starry night and enjoyed the sensation of a wet throat. Eventually he spoke again to Victor.
My father taught me never to let a debt go unpaid, but I have nothing I can give you except for advice.
He paused for a moment to think.
Always remember that the word exists in shades of gray.
Victor contemplated what was told to him, but failed to understand what the man was getting at. Without saying Without saying anything more, he backed away slowly and left for home. Soon, any relief that had been visited upon Carl was gone, and his screams and wails started up. In their homes, the residents spent another night trying their best not to hear it. Carl held strong throughout the night. Carl held strong throughout the next day. His pleas were ignored, but not unheard, and nearly everyone within earshot was noticeably on edge, and his gangrenous legs, chapped skin, and shallow features made him appear as something other than human to those few who wandered over to look. Stacy, what's up? Welcome to the stream. I hope you can come. I hope you enjoy your stay. I should consider getting water. That night, many of the residents again gathered within the tavern. Thankfully, that the activity of the crowded room was able to drown out the noise of the man on the wheel. Ironically, they spent most of their evening talking about the very man they were trying to get away from. The arguments from the previous night were far from settled, and Victor listened as the inebriated men took up their positions once again. Only a wolfman could have survived out there this long, some claimed. Connor Becker, the primary defender of Carl's innocence, shot back. Not if he was a wolf, he would have changed into one by now. Clearly he's a man, and only a man. Victor tuned him now. The beers he brought to the men kept them slacked and heated at the same time. Soon the air in the room grew thick, so Victor was glad when his uncle allowed him to take a break. He stepped outside into the fresh air and took some deep breaths. The first thing he noticed is that the night was quiet. Curiously, he walked over to the village square to check on the condition of Carl Wilhelm. The man was still breathing. Victor, is that you? The Gedenik man asked as he approached. Victor hadn't realized that Carl even knew his name. Yes, it's me. Thirsty. Victor reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out a flask that he earlier filled with water. He opened it and held it over Carl's mouth, allowing the liquid to slowly dribble its way down. That tastes good, Carl said. The two of them waited in silence as the man slowly regained some sense of humanity. And now, I must repay you. He stared at the heavens thoroughly. You will be better off in life to forgive past transgressions. Victor considered the advice and then took his leave before anyone saw him talking to the living dead man. Carl's screams began again shortly thereafter. Day broke, and the residents tried their best to carry on with their normal activities, and they found themselves becoming more and more irritable as Carl's moans pierced their ears and penetrated their minds. A small group of men, led by Conrad Becker, gathered in the village square. A few of them believed in Carl's innocence, while the others had simply had enough of his loud suffering and were anxious to see it end. That man should be put out of his misery, Carl declared with an axe in his hand. The men nodded and hummed their agreement. With raucous cheers, they headed to the wheel. Victor, who was preparing his uncle's tavern for the night, heard the unfolding scene and went outside just in time to see Conrad lift the axe above his head, poised to strike down on Carl's skull. Take a drink real quick. Oh, it's 2 a.m. where you're at. Okay. Oh, get some sleep. And I understand if you're late. It's okay. Not everybody's going to be here. I'm not expecting it, but thank you for stopping by, and I hope you sleep well. Josie Kitty, what's up? Welcome. Rule of thumb: keep Carl hydrated. I know you spelled that, but yeah. Even from across the way, Victor could see Carl's muscles relax, relieved that a finishing stroke was only moments away. Before Conrad could bring the axe down, a thunder of fast approaching footsteps was heard.
"Don't you dare end that man's life,"
came a scream from behind Victor. It was Hans Stein, a prominent village leader who had sat on the council that found Carl guilty for lycanthropy. He was accompanied by several other men.
Can't you see what's in front of you?"
Carl protested as the second group made their way towards the well. He hesitantly lowered his axe.
"Look, there is no longer a man, but a miserable wretch. Have you no mercy?"
Hans arrived at the well.
I agree that this is no man, but a wretch he is not. He is a wolf, and God or devil will take him when they are ready.
Conrad gave a once-over to the tortured man in front of him. Flies buzzed above the rotten flesh of Carl's legs. Deep cracks spread out over his skin like spider webs, revealing dried muscular underneath. His eyes appeared to have sunken deep into his skull, and his limbs were contorted in odd angles. With resolve, Conrad lifted the axe back up with a shout.
"Death is the only choice now, and the quicker, the better."
Before he could land a strike, two burly men came up from behind Hans and grabbed onto him. Slam. The fuck? Oh yeah, I get it. Two burly men came up from behind Hans and grabbed onto him, slamming him to the ground. The head of the axe fell onto Conrad's leg, causing a long gash to form along his shin. For a tense moment, it appeared as if the two groups of men were going to come to blows. But the determination of Conrad's group wavered as they all took turns waiting for someone else to act first. In the end, they only started at each other, ashamed. Hans took advantage of the lack of leadership within the rival group and spoke loudly.
"There will be no intervening. All of you leave before you are arrested."
He directed the two burly men to drag a semi-conscious Conrad away from the well.
"Please,"
came a scraping voice of the man on the wheel. Hans ignored the pleas and waited while the group dispersed. When he was sure the mob had disbanded, he too left, and Carl was alone in his agony. His pained moaning began yet again as the sun beat down on him. Victor had watched the scene unfold with conflicted feelings, but soon he retreated back to his uncle's tavern, where they were preparing for the nightly crowd. "Uncle, do you really think that man is guilty of being a wolf?"
I believe in the council, his uncle replied. They say he is guilty, therefore he is guilty. And good for business, he added with a chuckle. No, and good for business, he added with a chuckle. He looked closer at Victor. You don't think he is innocent, do you? You just take those concerns and bury them if you do.
Yes, uncle, came the reserved reply. Carl Wilhelm was indeed good for business, and that night the tavern was as full as it had ever been. It was only in the late hours that Victor had a chance to slip away. He stepped out of the tavern and into the cool air. Across the square, he could see Carl lying across the well. A low hum was emanating from his lungs, but it ceased as Victor approached.
Victor, is that you?
Carl asked with a wheezy whisper. His eyes, which were pointed directly up into the sky, were completely dried out and lifeless. Without saying a word, Victor removed a flask and attempted to pour some water into Carl's mouth. Carl shook it off.
Save it. I'm beyond thirsty now.
Victor lowered his arms dejectedly, and both the man and the boy remained silent in the cool night air. Victor could hear the crickets chirping for the first time in days. It was almost entrancing.
Victor, do you know where my house is?
Carl asked to the surprised boy. Victor took pause at the odd question, but affirmed with a murmur that he knew where the house was. The visit from the boy seemed to energize Carl, and he spoke clearly.
Good. I have one more favor to ask of you. In the corner of the bedroom, there is a loose floorboard. If you lift it up, inside you will find a common belt, just like the one you're wearing to keep those pants up.
Victor glanced down at his leather belt.
Please, will you retrieve it for me?
Carl asked with a cough. Victor scratched his head. What do you want? What do you want with a bell? How could it help you?
It was made for me by my wife nearly 20 years ago, right before she died. It was the only thing it's one of the only things I still have that reminded me of her. I believe she'll find me and guide me into the afterlife if I wear it.
The boy looked at the pathetic man in front of him, who wanted nothing more than to die. He glanced back at the tavern, where the libations were still flowing freely, and he knew he was needed. I can't leave now. The sounds of vigorous arguing filtered through the walls of the tavern and littered the night air. Carl allowed the sounds to envelop him before speaking.
I promise, those men inside won't be angry with you.
Then, Carl sweetened the deal.
There's some gold coins hidden alongside the belt. They can be yours.
Victor considered his options. He knew his uncle would be upset if he was gone for too long. But the promise of the coins intrigued him. I can get it for you later tonight, he offered.
I've waited here long enough, Victor. My house is only minutes away if you run fast.
The moon shone down upon the two of them as Victor finally agreed to the request. He wasted no time as he bolted off. His feet carried him quickly through the outskirts of the village, then beyond. Down the trail he ran as the trees and thickets grew denser around him. Soon he found Carl's farmhouse, which had been abandoned since the jailing. He pushed on the front door, which creaked as it slowly opened. The house was completely dark inside, which forced Victor to inch his way to the window and push aside the ratty curtains. Bits of moonlight streamed into the room, barely enough for him to see. He crept further in until he made it into the back room of the home. The rickety floor bent under his weight as he shuffled to the only unfurnished corner in the room. He knelt down to feel the loose floorboard, while the smell of dust kicked his nose. He methodically felt each board until a loose one moved in his fingers. He eagerly moved it out of his way and jammed his hand into the murky hole. His fingers felt the belt immediately. He pulled it out and put his hand back inside, looking for the gold coins which he'd been promised. But he felt nothing more within the hole. Disappointed, he reached further in, feeling along the dirty crevices. There was only emptiness. Victor knelt in the darkness, mulling over his situation. Had Carl lied to him about the gold? He wondered. Or had someone already come along and taken it? Either way, he knew his uncle was going to be furious, and he had nothing to show for his absence. He grabbed the belt and inched his way out of the gloomy dwelling and pushed through the woods on his way back to town. He arrived back at the village square out of breath and exhausted. On his run back, he made the decision to bypass Carl and return directly to the tavern. But as he approached, the renewed moaning from atop of the well gave him a pause. He still had sympathy for the tortured man. The moaning stopped as Victor approached.
Do you have the belt?
There was no gold, the boy sputtered.
I'm sorry. I lied to you about the gold,
Carl replied between obvious bouts of suffering.
I had no choice.
Disillusionment crept along Victor's face.
Please forgive me, Victor. I ask one last thing of you. Put the belt around my waist.
Victor, who only wanted to go back to the tavern, decided to give the man his one last request and then be done with him for good. He climbed on top of top of the well and reached his hand under the man's back, threading the belt under and then over him. He closed the buckle and then jumped down from the well and started walking back towards the tavern.
Victor,
Came the sudden, stronger voice of Carl Wilhelm.
have you thought much about the advice I gave you?
The boy stopped in surprise at how much stronger the man sounded. He ran through his previous conversations with Carl. Shades of gray, forgiving past transgressions. He wasn't sure what it all meant.
You see, Victor, I was a good man, but I still wanted Walter Ernest dead. He attacked my wife many years ago and never paid for his crimes. He was too close to the village council.
Victor returned to the well and noticed that Carl's eyes were no longer sunken into his skull. In fact, his entire face looked much healthier.
So I called to the devil, and it took years. But he answered. I wanted Ernest to pay for his deeds in the most horrible way.
Carl's deflated muscles began regaining their form.
It was he who gave me the belt, not my wife. Again, I'm sorry I lied to you.
Victor took a step back as he saw the broken bones in Carl's legs strengthen out and heal. Carl continued,
And when the deed was done, I was ashamed of myself because I had killed his daughter too. When they came to arrest me, I allowed it. I could have gotten away.
The wheel began cracking under the strain as Carl's groaning limbs pushed up against its rim. Carl's voice grew deeper.
And I laid there for days, waiting for a death that refused to come. It finally became apparent to me that God won't have me, and the devil thinks I still have more work to do.
In the moonlight, appeared to Victor that Carl's very face seemed to be contorting into something different.
So I'll do his work.
Coarse gray hair began growing upon his body as Victor sat frozen in fear. Carl's voice had attained a deep, animalistic growl.
You've done me one last favor, and as before, I can only repay you with advice.
He turned his head and stared at the boy. His eyes were yellow.
Run!
Victor fell backwards onto his bottom and crawled away. When he heard the wooden wheel begin to break apart, he finally stood up and heeded the advice, running beyond the boundary of the village. The wagon was splintered to pieces as the man attached to it doubled in size. His body contorted into a wolfen shape as he stepped down from the well and howled. Walking on 2 feet, the beast approached to the tavern. While inside, a sudden confused silence fell over the men. For the most part, they were the same ones who had laughed at Carl, the same ones who had spit and pissed on him, the same ones who had allowed his suffering to go on unabated. Carl owed them for 5 days of torture and agony, and as he entered the tavern through its only door, the single thought on his primitive mind was that he should never
let a debt go unpaid.
And that was the Wheel, the Well, and the Wilhelm. I hope you all enjoyed that one. That was a doozy. I think it kind of stirred my voice a little bit too. So what'd you guys think? Are you all still up? Thank you, Smiley. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I gotta be honest with you, I really enjoyed this story, and I'm thinking about making a video of it. I don't know, what do you think? Of course, it's gonna be difficult to try to make videos because the baby. Like every time I'm trying to edit audio, the baby will try to get my attention since technically I'm babysitting. Well, the grandpa is mostly doing the babysitting, and when I wake up, I kind of carry the load until the parents come home. But yeah, every time it would be like, every time we would like, open Audacity, edit this audio, wah! Close Audacity, save. It'd be like, open Premiere Pro, edit this video, wah! Close Premiere Pro. Time to look for some new stories. Ooh, gonna ask the author's permission. Wah! Close Google Chrome. And I believe me, I've been doing some recording time and I got some audio done. It's just that I haven't had time to do any videos as I promised. And everybody keeps saying to me, you know, just continue doing live streams. I mean, they're doing much better for you. But the thing is, I love making videos. I really do. And I kind of feel like a dirtbag about not posting any content because I've been saying that I'm going to try to get this out, I'm going to try to get that out, and nothing is getting done. I mean, granted, I've been babysitting my little nephew, aka my son's little brother, and granted, I have been lending my voice to like some collabs. Like a few of them probably need to keep on a low profile because they want to keep it a surprise. But I feel really bad for not putting anything out other than just live streaming in front of you. And I really want to put some stuff out for all y'all's viewing pleasure. And I really feel bad about it. And I apologize. And this coffee is not doing any good because it's fucking up my throat. But it is keeping me awake for a little while longer, so that way I can stream some more. But I think I'm going to switch out to some tea or water or something like that. But first I'm going to go to the bathroom and then give myself something to drink. So, with that said, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back for some more stories. I'm back. Hope you guys are still here. Damn, I looked at the playback and I pretty much burped by the time I came back to the main stage. I apologize for that. Sweet tea. That feels so much better. Hold my sweet tea. Little Lily C Nation shout out there. Yeah, that's gonna be her new catchphrase. Hold my sweet tea. If some of you don't get the reference, I'll link you to Lily C Nation's latest video as soon as I find it. Thank God for saved list on a cell phone. Sit. Share. But yeah, if you check out her latest video, she will explain where Hold My Sweet Tea came from. Okay, Sub's still there. Still here. Banga still here. Still. Cold Cat's still here, but she's getting ready for work. Thank you for sharing my live stream, Cold Cat, on Twitter. Oh shit! Fucking cats out here. You can obviously tell I didn't used to stream by myself. Stream health. But yeah, I like to thank all those who stuck by and waited patiently for me to give y'all the nightly reading. You all are fucking awesome. Okay, I'm gonna read the next story that's off of my creepy ritual lists. Oh, not this one. Hold on. There it is. My fault. That I did this story a while back. Of course, there is no credit to be given because there's no name of the author. But it is a ritual pasta. And this is off the creepypasta.com. This story is called Her Protection. Warning, do not attempt to do any of this shit that you're about to hear at home or anywhere else. In every major town and city, there is a house There is a house of which no official records exists, and whose windows have been boarded up for longer than anyone can remember. The the previous occupants, if there ever were any, are untraceable, and no organization or individual will ever lay claim to the plot on which it stands. Nevertheless, when you break in, always through a back ground floor window, you must never touch the outer doors. You will see amongst the dust the signs of inhabitants long gone. A flattened cardboard box, an overturned child's cot, balding patches of the carpet where the pile has been worn away. Invariably, there will be an orphaned double mattress in the master bedroom. What you will not see, however, are rats and cockroaches, or animal waste. Vermin know better than to come here. These are her sacred spaces. The first time you visit, bring only what you need to help you enter the house. Then locate the master bedroom. Stand in the center and draw an unbroken circle in the dust around your feet. Make it about a meter in diameter to be safe. Face the doorway and say aloud, "I wish to make a sacrifice. Will you welcome the offering?" Then leave as quickly as possible. You must never return until night has next fallen. This time bring nails, a hammer, an empty liter bottle, a sharp, sturdy knife, and a torch. Enter the same way you did the last time. Remember the mattress in the master bedroom. Someone will be sleeping there. Don't worry about waking them up. She has taken care of that for you. Turn the sleeper over onto their back and cut their jugular vein, making sure to collect as much blood as you can. You will need to pour a little of the blood onto the floor of every room, including this one. But make sure you have some left at the end. When you have finished, leave by the same way you entered and close up the boards again. This is what the hammer and nails are for. Walk home. Speak to nobody on your way. When you get there, tip some of the remaining blood into your right hand and smear it over your door handle before you enter. Then go to bed. If there is any blood left, you must pour the rest onto any pavement in the city, but do not allow it to be poured down the drain. The knife must never be used again and should bury. Do not trouble yourself with covering your tracks. When you next leave your house, the blood on your door will be gone, and the murder you have committed will have no repercussions. From the moment you leave her temple, DNA evidence will never again implicate you. Law enforcement will creep around your footsteps without touching them. On cameras, your face will show up a blur. You are under her protection. Just make sure you get the right house.
Thought I had another ritual pasta here. I guess not. Alright. The next story is also from the creepypasta from creepypasta.com, and is ads and more ads. It is another story I recorded a while back. And this is a doozy, and this is a decent one. Hope you'll like it. This story is called What Happened to Ella. My sister has been gone for 25 years now. I think it's finally time to tell her story. It was summer. My sister, Ella, and I had barely lived on the farm 6 months. Our father was off in the military, having been gone about 2 years by this time. We missed him dearly. The farm sat in the middle of nowhere, were miles and miles between our family and others. Our mother worked hard to raise us too. Her work only increased due to the fact she also tended the farm. We tried our best to help our mother with the daily chores, feeding chickens and collecting eggs, giving the animals hay and slopping the pigs. We felt we did hard work through our portion of the work was less than 10% of what was needed to be done. Most of our time was spent doing what any 6 or 8-year-old might do. Played in the yard. Our house was an old white painted story. Was an old white painted 2-story house plus basement. The paint chipped off the exterior walls, and the shutters were missing. But it was cozy and nice, even having a large tire swing on the tree in the front. Surrounding the house and barn were what felt like miles of cornfield. Ellen and I often ran through the corn, playing various games, hide and seek and such. It just so happens that one day we ran further through the corn than we ever had. The field broke way to a large, empty, desolate, barren land. Now I say empty, but of course, there was tall, unattended grass and a singular tree. The tree itself was a somewhat disturbing sight. The bark, black and flaking, branches barren and gnarled. The trunk stood tall and thick, and a grown adult could have stood on the on the other side, and we wouldn't have known. The trunk twisted and bent in a sort of unnatural way. Just looking at the tree made me... Luna! Just looking at the tree made me uneasy. It didn't help that the world around us was dead silent. No birds, No bugs. The wind held its breath. The tree expelled a kind of aura. The kind that held with it the stench of rotting wood and animal carcasses that filled our nostrils. Gripping my sister's hand, I tried to pull her back, begging her to turn back. She smiled at me and told me it was okay, then convinced me that we needed to take our rest. So against my better judgment, we sat at the roots of the beast. Oh God, if only I knew then what I know now, I would have picked her up and carried her home, kicking and screaming. It felt like we talked for hours. We talked about everything. We talked about how we missed Daddy. How we were excited for the pumpkin harvest. How we've carved some for Halloween. And what we dressed as for trick or treat, which we had to do in town. Eventually, Ella brought up her sadness in the lack of toys we owned due to the fact that we hadn't quite made enough off the farm to buy new ones. She told me, if she could, she wished for new toys and other luxury things. Suddenly, with an abruptness that made us both jump to our feet, startled, we heard a loud thump from behind the tree. Slowly, cautiously, with a scared glance to one another, we took hold of one another's hand and went to look. There, at the base of the tree, there at the base of the tree, two brand new rag dolls with beautiful brown yarn hair and sweet painted faces. Each doll wore a different dress, one in yellow, the other sky blue. Between the dolls sat a multicolored top, a toy boat with a cherry-colored finish and white sail, and a set of jacks with a shiny red ball. Dumbfounded, we looked around, trying to find anyone, but we were alone. Ella gathered the toys, despite my protests, and we went home. Day after day, Ella went back to the tree. I refused to go near it. It terrified me. Each day, she brought back more and more. More and more things. Sweets, toys, books, costume jewelry, and clothing in her exact size. Mom never seemed to notice. How could she, when she was so busy with the farm? One day, Ella and her got into a fight, and Ella ran. I knew where she was headed. I followed her. Quickly, stealthily, through the corn. The only light to guide me, the harvest moon, casting a pumpkin glow. I was right. She stood in front of the tree, still sniffling from her fit, but speaking to someone I couldn't see. A soft, airy woman's voice returned the conversation, but I couldn't hear her over the sound of my heart pounding. Terrified, Ella begged the woman. I couldn't see. Ella begged the woman I couldn't see to take her away. That was when I found my courage to step forward and drag her away. I moved from my hiding to grab my sister's hand when the sound of splintering wood broke the silence. The massive, gnarled trunk split open, and what emerged from its depths I will never forget. Frozen, stuck in the spot in sheer terror, I stared at it, or rather, her as she emerged. The head rocked side to side, allowing the horns of a bovine skull to allow the horns of a bovine skull that served as her head. Through the trunk's gap, tangled, thin hair fell around the eyeless sockets and draped over bony shoulders and horns. The hands that pulled her from her resting place, more claw than hand. Her feet clawed as well. She wore no clothes. She wore no clothing, but that only served to increase the grotesqueness of the woman. The loose skin hung off a skeletal frame, lower stomach pudgy. Her breasts sagged with age, and having once been full, her skin the color of milk gone sour, dirted with earth and rotted in pieces, still coated in blood. She gave the image of an old woman who has lost all weight, but not skin, only keeping enough to gather at her lower stomach. Despite my terror, Ella seemed unfazed by this woman. No, creature, now reaching out for it. I jerked her back, but the thing grabbed her other hand. It was a tug of war that seemed to last ages. But with all my fear, my hands were slick with sweat, and Ella's hand came loose. I fell to the ground when I looked up. My poor sister, and when I looked up, my poor sister was gone. The creature, however, was not. It hovered over me, reaching out to take me too. I scrambled up and ran, laying out a terrible shriek, a mixture of a scream of rage and an angered lowing. It hunched down to all fours, giving chase through the corn after me. Crying, my vision blurred, but I fought my way through. I burst through the line for corn and ran for the house. Glancing back, I could see the glowering at me. I could see it glowering at me at the line. My mother didn't believe my story. Who would? The police were called. The search went on and on, but she was never found. My mom refused to move. Even after my sister's funeral, as they given up that she was still alive. So I grew up in that house, but never played in that corn again. I knew it was out there, watching, waiting. At the age of 19, I went back to that tree, a chainsaw in hand. I would make sure no one would ever go through what I did. God, I was a fool. It took me a good part of an hour, but I cut it down. And over the next few weeks, we burned that damn thing. I wish I could tell you that the end of it. I wish I could tell you that was the end of it. But I sit here, now in my childhood home, typing by a low light, in the light of the full harvest moon. Outside, peering at me from around the tree in the front yard. The one with the tire string. It waits. seems by destroying and burning the tree. I merely released it to move closer. I have not left my house for 14 years. And if I can, let's see if I can show you guys the image. I think it's display capture on no, that's not it. There we go. I think it was video capture. There we go. Make sure I didn't. Yeah, if. Let's see if I can. Oh boy. Gotta do this without spilling my tea. Yeah. This is the picture that that was described in the story. Should have done this with the other story with Anomaly, but that's neither here or there. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. Yes, nightmare fuel. Oh man, I think my left side of my ribs hurt. I think I'm getting some clogged arteries. Oh, I can't share. I can't share Kitty Only's tweet. Boo. Sorry, I'm back. Where'd you go, Bonga? You missed out on a creepy story. Oh, we're coming up on 2 hours. Sorry, I'm a little silent. I'm just checking out my Discord and everything. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. The fact that I'm not uploading as I'm supposed to. Hey, Trixie. God, she looks depressed. Or she's just barely waking up. I don't know. How's everybody else doing tonight? I guess it's a relatively chill night. I can understand that some of the big wigs are streaming as well. Of course, they're a lot better than me. And I can understand that some of those friends that I used to talk to rather go to their streams rather than mine, but it's thoroughly understandable. I got it. Again, I'm not showing any saltiness, but it would have been nice for them to come by and say hi. That's whatever. I told people that they were going to get sick of me. Yeah, the only thing to ever do is just move on. The Legend of Karen 2, The Quest for the Manager. Oh, what the fuck? I'm sorry, I'm looking at my YouTube and there's some stupid shit posted on here. From Lowbrow Studios, the creators of Sonic for Hire. And yeah, sometimes I like talking to random. So I'm sorry if it's just wasting your time or whatever. Relatively seems like a nice day outside this morning for me, says Cool Cat. Oh, well, I'm glad you you like listening to me, Brenda. Maybe I should have another pint of ice cream. I don't know. But yeah, I should definitely do some content soon. I know I keep saying that, but I need to stop slacking off. Did you ever hear about this one guy? He goes by the name of Ivan Pistov. He's pretty much a bulky, gung-ho type of guy who loves to kill killer nuggies. Or chicken nuggets. Alien chicken nuggets from outer space. Yeah, in case anybody's wondering, that's a original story from Monsters of My Mind, who made a story for Lady Spakarga's birthday collab, which was like 5 hours, 4 hours at least. Spakarga. I'm gonna go ahead and link that big collab. I was also in there. I was also in that mega collab. It was a short but sweet story. I'll link the mega collab there. And if you get me able to find Monsters in My Mind story, it is hilarious. And I heard he's doing a trilogy of killer foods or whatever. And I would like to see it. I gotta tell you right now, it's much better. Is way better than Zombieland. Bleep Bloop says, haha, from Monsters of My Mind. Well, you think I'm kidding. I'm surprised you're popping in. I mean, normally whenever Blue Phantom streams, you act like an ass. I'm surprised you're behaving yourself. And Brenda, I think you were at that premiere when he played that story. Ivan pissed off. I am not angry, but I am pissed off. If somebody can get Monsters of My Mind to tell him to make him into a video game character, that would be the tits. Alright. Bleep Bloop says, I'm always an absolute angel. Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm watching you, boy. I'm on to you. I'm sure Monsters would be glad I give him that little shout out. He's actually a cool dude and everything. So don't be afraid to hit him up and subscribe to his channel. Let's see here. Oh, well, it's nice of you to come by, Cold Cat. Try to have a good day at work, okay? Stay safe out there. Protect yourself. Did I do this one? I don't think I did it. Hang on a second. I know there was a story then. Alrighty. I remember. Hang on. Jeez, I'm going back through my old messages because I remember a while back, a few years ago, a good friend of mine named Chase Lamb sent me a story for me to narrate. I'm pretty sure he'll appreciate the shout out if I can find the goddamn thing. Boy. This is a long way off. God damn son of a bitch. Mother. Going through all these goddamn blah 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 blah. Damn it. Okay, let me take a look at the chat. I could be a mod. All I have to do is time out everyone, right? No. No, bleep bloop. I'm not making you a mod, because you gotta remember, with great power comes great responsibilities. And some of these people have great responsibilities. So and judging by the way you've been acting in Lila's streams, I don't trust you that much. Maybe if you behaved a little bit, I might consider it. Okay. One moment, folks. Why is it always... Why can't Facebook give me a option to filter all the way up there? Sharky! What's up? Hope you're doing well, dude. There's a story on... I thought I was doing a little ASMR, but no. Jeez. I'm waiting for this shit to go back. Aww. Ah, here it is. And hopefully this will take me to Google Docs. And I fucked up. Yeah. Sorry if I'm stalling for time or whatever, but decided to stay until the stream ends. Katie, go to work. Need you to make that money to pay the bills. I want you homeless now. Yeah, she knows I burp a lot in my streams. It's mainly from drinking tea or eating tacos. And I love my tacos. I don't even have to wait till Tuesday to eat tacos. I can make them anytime I want. I can make another one. Another one. Another one. Goddamn Geico commercial. See, I saw that one Geico commercial or DJ Khalid, or whatever the fuck his name is. Came in there teaching this dude how to brush his teeth and whatever. That's how you know your hip hop career has gone down the tubes before anybody notices you. That you starred in fucking commercials. Or I could be wrong. And the dislikes pour in. No, this is gonna take a while. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Some stars had to do something to get by. Then again, I saw Snoop Dogg doing them general car insurance commercials, but then he's still making some bank with his rap career and all that stuff. I think he's semi-retired or whatever, because I know he did a thing on Instagram with DMX. Wasn't really a rap battle. It was more like they were singing each person's respective songs or whatever. And I saw part of it, and oh my god, DMX let himself go. That six pack ain't there anymore. I mean, I don't know what happened to the dude. I mean, he went from being the big dog to just being an actual big guy. No disrespect, I believe he's a fucking awesome rapper, but damn, dude, something happened to D. Again, why can't Facebook make it easier to let me go all the way to the top? I will never forget the time Snoop Dogg rap battled Santa Claus. Yeah, I believe Santa lost. Because, I mean, come on. It's Snoop Dogg rapping as Moses. And if you're facing anybody played by Snoop Dogg, you're gonna lose. He is legend. No, I gotta say it correctly.
Shh. He is legend.
Oh my god. Thank you for trying to bring in some comedy to break the silence. Sharky says, don't really listen to modern rap all that much nowadays. Rappers just rap about the same stuff, being drugs, money, liquor, women, fast cars. Yeah, I just don't understand why the newer rappers need to rap about frivolous things or whatever. And I know back in the old days, back in the 90s, the days of Dre, Snoop, Ice Cube, Pac, Biggie Smalls, NWA. They used to rap about about street violence and bad shit that's going on in their hood and everything. The underbelly of the hood. And just straight up real shit, man. And the more I see more modern rap about frivolous things, I feel that they don't take homage to how it all started. At least that's my perspective. Yeah, I'm still trying to find this story. Y'all go ahead and talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. Now, on to our next story. And this is one of my first official fan submissions that I did a while back. This story was sent in to me by a skinny 7-foot tall kid named Chase Lamb. He came to me asking me if I wanted to narrate one of his stories. And I was like, sure, send it my way. And he sent me the story, and I told him that I don't think I heard the story, but Sharky, you need to come out of your shell more. Alright, well, who wants to tell jokes or, I don't know, talk about stuff? I guess I'll start. So, how long have you guys been alive? I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know either. Main thing is we're alive, and that's all that matters. No, Chase Lamb, not Jace Lamb. No, actually, he was about 6 feet. I think he's about 6 feet, but I do know he's taller than me, and I'm like 5'9". But he's from Canada, and he sent me one of his stories and asked me if I wanted to narrate it. I was like, sure, I'll narrate it. And I did, and he enjoyed it so much. And here's a fun fact. I heard this story before from another narrator before... I don't know what the fuck that is. Is that Schrodinger's cat? And I kind of played it off as I told him I never seen this story before, but I'll give it a crack. So I narrated it to Josie. What are those that you're sending? It looks like Schrodinger's cat in the box. But anyways, I narrated it for him, and he loved the video. He loved my narrating skills. And then one day he was like, fun fact, I think you heard this story before. In my mind, I was like, fuck! But but honestly, at the time I couldn't remember listening to that story from another narrator before me. My ex-girlfriend misses me, but her aim's getting better. Oh, shit. Alright, but this story is one of my first fan submission stories that I ever did for my channel. Written by Chase Lamb. This story is called The 12 Days in Sarsha. If you can hear this, this is Chase Lamb. We need help right away. There's something in the woods. It's coming to the door. Oh God. The footsteps are outside the door. Oh my God. It's almost in. End of transmission. Hello, this is Chase Lamb, along with the 4 other idiots I have with me, Brandon, Mitch, Gordon, and Mike. We met in college, where we were studying to be game designers, but we figured out that was not for any of us. Instead, we decided to explore the unknown and unexplained. We are what you call paranormal explorers. We travel to places that can't be explained and try to bring it to life for an answer. Today we're hanging into a town called Sarsha. We got a lead on this from one of those Facebook posts from people going on about how the scary stuff doesn't exist. The thing that got our attention, though, was when we tried to find it on Google or any map system. We weren't able to locate it. Luckily, our local library had some information on it, as well as a couple of old newspaper articles of the town. According to old books and newspapers that we've read so far, the town has had no sign of life in 80 years. No one can explain why, but it's rumored that anybody that attempts to stay there for about 20 days disappears. They're never found again. On top of it all, these apparent warnings given to us raised our curiosity. After doing a lot of research and database searches, we were able to find out where Sarsha's location. Day 1. Since apparently nobody has stayed here for 20 days, and we need proof, I brought my journal so I can keep notes. Mitch also brought along his video camera, so you'll be able to catch clips of us at the same time. We are now 20 minutes away from Sarsha, and I am looking forward. Get out. Leave now. A ghostly figure of myself appeared and showed me dead. Wake up, Jace! Wake up! Gordon shook me violently. Wait, what happened? I said, dazed and confused. You started to drift off. It looked like you were about to faint or pass out. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Gordon. Don't worry about it. I didn't want to say to him what I had just seen because they might think that I may be trying to check it out, and I highly doubt they would believe me. I had decided to shake the thing off as a small dream or some hallucination, since it had been a while since we had both gotten sleep. Mitch stopped the car and looked at us with a painful look. Welcome to Sarsha. Brandon took out the camera and started to film the surroundings around us. They were right about it looking abandoned. It looked like nobody had lived here in years. The grass was almost 7 feet tall. There were cornfields with dead brown pieces of corn all around them. We recorded the area and found nothing except for an old wooden house that's destroyed. Since it's occupied, likely no one lives there. We decided where this would set up camp. Day 2. We spent most of the last nights trimming the hedges, but could not do much. It seems like we were trying to trim down metal and steel all in one. Today the plans for us consist of fixing up the house and making it livable again. We looked around it and found nothing ghostly or any signs that people have even lived here. All we were able to see were tons of dust and a bunch of spider webs, like the place was trying to tell us we should not be here. But enough with that. I'm going to help the rest of the group get the repairs done. I will be writing back in my journal. I will be writing back in my journal in a couple of hours. Well, it took us 4 hours, but we were able to settle in the house. We are celebrated with a cold beer as we were able to get electricity into the house, which almost seemed impossible to do. Next thing is dinner. Mitch brought out the camcorder and said in a playful voice, "Alright, people, for our wait until this ancient evil crap gets us. What do you want?" He pulled out a selection of burgers in his left hand. Then he brought out a T-bone steak on the right. We all pointed to the left, and we had the burgers. After dinner, we were all exhausted, so this is where I put down the journal and get some shut-eye. I will be sure to write tomorrow. Have a good night. Day 4. I feel like a complete fool, and I forgot to write in my journal about the 3rd day. I apologize for that. There is nothing that I can do about it now. We were all bored from sitting around and just exploring the house. So we decided to have some fun. We would take the camcorder to go out and explore the woods. As expected, we found nothing of talent and fortune. All we saw were trees and of insects. However, one thing stuck out and provided mystery. How there is a fresh dead deer out here. How is there a fresh dead deer out here? There had been no light of a sign for 80 years. So how could something be out here? We were trying to think about possible explanations. Animals getting to it, dying from starvation, or natural causes. Eventually, we all calmed down and decided to claim that the wildlife had taken it. The rest of the day mostly consists of us playing cards at the table and just relaxing until 8:30 p.m. We heard banging on the door. We grabbed our gear and went outside. And were shocked when we saw the deer that was not even dead 4 hours ago was gone. It's gone. It's gone. All of it. The blood, body, and tracks. It was almost as if something was coming to clean up a mistake that it had made doing its work. During that night, none of us got any sleep. Day 5. Now, I don't claim to believe in the paranormal activity or things like that. But all of last night, I heard these unexplainable noises. It sounded like small children. Every time we went outside, the noise would stop. It was almost as if something knew we were coming out to see what it was. In our state of confusion, we hear a loud howling screech. When we were outside to investigate the noise, nothing was there. This place keeps on getting creepier and creepier. Day 7. Sorry that I have not written in a couple of days. I hit my head and was in and out of it yesterday. We don't know what caused me to fall, thinking there may be mold or something in the air. Instead, we found something inexplainable. It was a journal, the key slot. The shape of it looked like it's a diary, but of course, there was no key to be found. Instead of bashing it open and seeing what was inside, we picked the lock, hoping not to damage the content inside. In the meantime, Gordon decided that what we were doing was boring and thought it would be fun if we went fishing instead. We got our rods and reels, and we went fishing for 2 hours. To the surprise of everybody, it turns out there were fish that were living in the yellow ponds. At the end of our trip, we decided to head back and eat the fish since they look edible. We were all excited to head back to the house, but that feeling would slowly turn into panic and fear. The house looked like a total wreck. It looked like a tornado came in and threw all of our stuff around. Our cameras were distorted. Our cameras were distorted along with our belongings scattered on the floor. We were frustrated and confused, but I noticed something that nobody else had. The place where the journal lay is torn into pieces. Something was looking for this journal. I hid it in one of the closets and locked it behind me, not telling anyone. The journal was gone. Someone else was here, and I don't think it was us. We gathered in the room, staring at one another's in silence.
Alright, who pulled off this prank?
Brandon said with a fury in his voice. None of us replied. All we could do is look and hope someone would confess and say it was a prank. It didn't happen. We decided that it didn't happen. We decided that it would be best to clean up and forget about this mess. But that would not be easy. After we finished cleaning the house and putting everything back where it was, we all went to sleep. Within the hour, the other 4 were all snoring, and I couldn't sleep. Not after what had happened today. I tossed and turned, hearing a sound of paper crumpling. I heard it again and again. It sounded like it was coming from under my bed. I lifted my bed to see a perfectly intact piece of paper. Day 8. I decided not to tell the others about the paper. I think they suspect me for the big mess that was made. We all went downstairs for breakfast and decided we were going to explore the cornfield later. It was different than the first time It was different than the first time we saw it. Just as we were pulling our plates away, there was a giant thump at the door. It sounded like something had changed it. We jumped out of our chairs in shock. Brandon went into a frenzy, reaching his bag, taking out a gun. He yelled,
All right, that is enough. I'm gonna find out what's going on.
"Brandon, stop! What are you doing?" We ran after him. We ran after him to stop. We followed his footsteps, which led to the cornfield. We had to find him before he did something stupid or ended up hurting himself. We followed the steps for what felt like an hour. In our hunt, we came across something strange. We found a weird footstep in the dirt. It looked like something was walking with 5 feet. Except every footprint was different. Almost like every print was a different animal. As we inspected it, we heard a blood-curdling scream for the left of us. It was Brandon. We ran to him, pushing off every piece of corn that came in our way. We got to him and seeing him in a fetal position, shaking as blood ran down his body. Some animal had bitten him right on the shoulder. We grabbed him and brought him back to the house. Thankfully, this time it wasn't torn to shreds. Brandon's shoulder was bleeding. He was starting to have convulsions. Grabbing a cloth from the bathroom, we made a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Luckily, it worked. I hadn't noticed it, but in all of the commotion, the paper was somehow on the ground. A drop of blood dripped from Brandon's shoulder, hitting the page. Only for words to show up. Day 10. I didn't write anything yesterday since we spent the entire day trying to decode the paper. It would only show words. It would only show words with Brandon's blood. We tried others, but nothing worked. We gathered his blood and deciphering 4 lines of the page. After our efforts, we figured out the 4 lines and what it said. This is Braden Marcus. We were foolish to come here. The tracks at night are from the animal. We have never seen anything like this. If you see... It ends there. Everyone was convinced that this animal the paper mentioned was the one that left the weird foot track in the dirt. I sat at the door for what seemed like hours and came up with a plan. I would sit at the side of the door, and when it would appear, I would take a picture of it. I stood there for an hour, ready to give up before I heard noises coming from the side of the house. Taking the camera, I saw its face before running off into the cornfield. It looked like a wolf with a scar running from its forehead to its eyes. I was looking at the footage to see it come up close, and to show the guys. When I went through the film, I saw nothing of the animal. I slowed the camera down. Looking at it frame by frame. All it showed was me running to the back of the house, looking for nothing. Frustrated, I went to bed. Day 11. Ever since Braden had gotten bit by the animal, he has been acting strange. Not in a medical way. He started speaking French randomly, and his emotions turned into anger and depression. Now, I'm not a doctor. But this isn't the Brandon I know. Plus, he doesn't even know French. After we helped Brandon get out of bed, we gave him an aspirin and pulled some peroxide on the bite. I put some peroxide on the bite. Everything was working out. We put a band-aid to keep anything from getting to the bite. After we were all bored and decided to go fishing, we put up a camcorder, so if anything did get into the house, we would catch it on film. After a walk to the dock, we got our equipment out and went to get started. I pulled the rod out, and within the first 5 minutes, a fish caught the line. Excited, we pulled to the surface. The feeling turned into dust as the reality of our catch came into view. It was a human skull. I thought after seeing this, our next thought would be getting the hell out of this crazy place. That is what sane people would do, but our stubbornness got to us. We voted that we were going to stay. After this little voting stage, Mike got thirsty. We went back to the house to get some water. 30 minutes passed, and he had went back to the house to get some water. 30 minutes passed, and he had yet to come back. We all started to worry that something happened to him. We went back to the house to check on him. When we got there was nothing there besides his shirt and the 5 claw-like footprints. Day 13. Yesterday, the thoughts of my journal didn't come to my head. The day consisted of trying to find our lost friend. We looked into the plains, the house, the cornfields. There was no sign of him. To make things worse, the footprints were gone. After the search, we couldn't find him, or even see any sign of he was there. He was here. We got out our phones to get a signal to call 911, but no one could get one. The only thing to finding Mike was the paper. In a panic effort, we applied pressure to Brandon's now healed wound to get blood out and show the final words of the page. Nothing came out though. In a rage of fury, Mitch threw a book at the wall, breaking a board and revealing a dog skull. We were in shock and went to examine it. It was indeed a dog skull, but by the looks of it, it was there for a very long time. What in the hell is a dog skull doing here? There has got to be more to this place than just a scary legend. In a curious effort, we took our shovels and dug around the back, dug around the back and front yard to find anything to help us. What we found was nothing that we would have ever experienced. There were bodies. Lots of bodies. Not just human bodies. The more we dug, the more bodies we saw. There were so many animals. Dogs, cats, and humans. Whatever was here was making it look like a signal to get out and get out of there now, because something did not want us here. Day 14. This is going to be a tourist entry. This is going to be a short entry. We are getting ready to leave and go to the police about all of this. We have to report what we have found in the yard and the story about Mike, and report him missing. Again, we heard something last night when we investigated. We saw one of the footprints. This is it. We are packing and leaving first thing tomorrow. Day 15. We are almost done. We are almost done with the packing and keeping guard at the door with Mitch's gun. If the creature comes to get us, we will be ready at this time. Brandon needs to go to the hospital. His eyes have been going bloodshot every hour, and he has random jerks in his body. The rest of the things were packed. I started carrying Brandon out to the car. It is time to get out of this place. I thought things couldn't get any worse. I was wrong. The car was destroyed. It looked as if someone whacked it with a baseball bat 200 times. The windows are bashed in. The engines look like someone had dropped a giant boulder on it. We had nowhere to go and no one to contact. The nearest town was 105 miles away. We were screwed. We are going to die here, and the only thing that we can do is hope and pray. Our only hope was the paper. We went to get it, hoping that it may contain some way to get out of here. Anything to get out of this whole hellhole. We got the paper ready to squirt Brandon's blood all over the page, not caring how we escaped this place. When we grabbed the paper, I was shocked that it was readable. All the other times that we had seen it, it was blank. It turned out that it was a journal similar to the one I am writing in, except a man named Bernard Jenkins wrote it. It explains all the events that had happened to us in this journal and a warning. He warns us of a creature that shouldn't be born here in this world. It has made this its home. It will kill anyone that invades its property. Inside is also a video recording from him questioned by the police. Day 16. Here's the police tape recording we found taped to the journal. We pulled out our camcorder and recorded on what came out next. Bernard, are you okay? The officer said in a calm voice.
Am I safe?
Bernard asked in a very edgy voice. Yes. It can't hurt you, but we need to ask you a couple of questions about what happened at Sarsha. He paused. 7 of you went in. 1 comes out 20 days after. It doesn't look good for you, the officer says. Bernard replies in an earth-shattering voice.
It wasn't me. It was that thing. I saw it. A bit of. It bit all of my friends, and it killed my Allison. My sweet, sweet Allison.
He puts his hands on his head while shaking violently.
She became one of those things. They came to me, but I got away. But every time I close my eyes, I see it. I don't know what it is. I can't live. I can't sleep.
The officer seems to be not paying attention.
That thing bit us. It had brown fur, 5 legs, and we couldn't kill it. We tried to shoot it, but it wouldn't die.
Bernard starts to shake violently.
It would not die. It would not die.
The officer grabs Bernard and says, "Calm down. You're safe now." The voice is reassuring, but the calm is broken. Suddenly, Bernard yells again,
Oh my God, it's right behind you.
Camera flips over. 2 gunshots fired. Then it ends. The end says Bernard and the officer were never found in the room where the shots had been fired. All they found were 2 bullet holes. It's terrifying even to think that the same thing that hunted Bernard is now hunting us. What should we do? It's 105 miles away from town, and whatever is trying to kill us is driving us to insanity. Is this what it wants? For us to turn on each other, one by one? Day 17. All night we heard the growling. Every second I heard it. It wasn't until the lightest sight of sunlight came out that the growling stopped. We were granted with a morning present that hadn't made all of us sick to our stomach. At the doorstep was Mikey's body, destroyed and everything. It looked like he was ripped in half by a chainsaw. Mitch and I couldn't look at the body. We all took a blanket, covered him, and put him into one of the holes that we previously dug. We promised we would find the thing that did this to him and Bernard. We will kill the creature and deliver this evil away from this world. We took out all of our weapon-related items, ready to hunt, but was interrupted by another one of Brandon's seizures. We thought about what Bernard said. One of those things was Brandon turning into something else that was not human? We loaded the gun and pointed it at Brandon. I loaded the gun and pointed it at Brandon. I almost pulled the trigger, but was interrupted by Gordon.
Dude, what are you doing? Dude, what the hell are you doing?
He tackled me to the ground, yelling those words. I took a deep breath and replied slowly.
What Bernard said about the people turning. We should kill him before he turns.
Gordon has the most disgusting expression that I have ever seen him make. He slapped me in the face and told me never to think that again. After 15 minutes, things calmed down with Brandon. We finished preparing our weapons. At 11 p.m., we grabbed our guns and were about to walk out the front door, but Brandon was gone. We went out to the front door and left the house. There was a blood trail to follow. We instantly thought the worst of what happened to him. We heard the sound of movement somewhere out in the field. Though whenever we shone our lights on the movements, there was nothing there. The blood trail was coming to an end. We found Brandon. He was dead. We left his body, swearing he he would get a proper burial after we had killed the creature. We gave up our search on finding the beast at night and decided to try to find it during the daylight instead. We arrived back at the house and gathered our things for the night. We went to bed, and within a moment of laying down, we were all fast asleep. Day 18. At 3 a.m., the door randomly burst open, and what we saw instantly woke us. It was the creature. It had a bear as a head, followed by scars covering the right side of its face. I immediately grabbed one of the guns and shot at the creature. It dodged my bullet and ran back to the front door. It must have considered me a threat. Before it ran, Gordon swung a baseball bat and hit it in the ribs. We saw it run off with blood coming from its mouth. We were both excited and happy that it could be hurt. Because if it bleeds, then it could be killed. No noises were made that night, nor did it show emotion. But you could tell by its movements it was hurt. It ran, and we chased it outside. Before we could leave, we heard the shatter of glass break behind us. It was Brandon. We did not know how he was alive at all. His eyes were completely bloodshot. Foam ran from his mouth. A thought popped in my head. Going back to the things that Bernard had said. How it turned people into those creatures. Brandon was one of those things. He ran at us, not like how an average person should. We heard his bone crack. It made me want to throw up. I was able to hold it back. Gordon and I ran to the basement as fast as we could. We boarded the door. Brandon was still outside, smashing the door, trying to break it. We were frantically looking for something to help us, in any way. We spotted an old ham radio. I set it up. With deep breaths, I said, "If you can hear this is Chase Lamb. We need help right away. We are in grave danger. If anyone can hear us, we're in Sarsha and we need help right away." Just then, the smashing of the door stopped, and we heard a howl coming from outside. It must have been the creature calling its flock back to its home. After hours of waiting in the basement and listening for any sign of living things in the house, we came out, exhausted and in pain. We needed sleep. We decided that someone would keep guard and we would switch every 3 hours. I hope this is a better day than what we have had in the past. Day 20. It is now the afternoon, and we make plans to escape Sarsha. We don't know how this didn't come across our minds before. At the dock, when we first found the skull, there was a bolt. It was a decay, and it looks like it hadn't been used in years. It was our only choice. It was hard abandoning everybody, but Gordon and I had to. Mitch was missing. Brandon turned into one of those things, and Mike was dead. We gathered the gear, ready to make the fastest run out. make the fastest run of our lives to the boat. Hold on. Ready to make the fastest run of our lives to the boat. We checked the inside of the house in case Brandon was hiding, or the creature was waiting for us. We looked out the windows and found that everything was the same outside. The saying, looks can be deceiving, couldn't be further from the truth. It was quiet. No footprints were there. Nothing was new outside. We knew it was watching somewhere. It has to be. Remember, it's the 20th day and nobody survives 20 days. We got our bags and the guns that we could and opened the door, running out as fast as we could. Nothing was out of the ordinary, but this didn't get us thought of slowing down. As if I just jinxed myself. The creature came to the cornfield, screaming and hissing as loud as it could. Looking at its fanged teeth and its wolf-like structure only made me run faster as it ran at us with extraordinary speed. Gordon must notice that it was almost near us, because I saw him pull the pistol and shoot off 3 rounds. One hit the creature as we heard it gasp out in desperate pain. I yelled at Gordon to keep shooting, but when he did, the gun got jammed. There was no time to fix it, so he threw it and we kept running. Halfway to the boat, we're almost there. We can make it out of here. We were running when we saw it in front of us. It was Brandon, or what used to be Brandon. Blood was spilling from his mouth, and his eyes were completely red. He caught us off guard and tackled Gordon to the ground. When I went to help, but Gordon just yelled, saying, "Run and save yourself!" I have no choice but to listen to my friend and watch as both the creature and Brandon attacked him. I was finally at the dock, and to my surprise, I found Mitch working on the boat in a frantic pace. "Mitch, what are you doing here? Where were you?" He cut me off. I'll tell you everything later. We did escape this place." We jumped onto the boat and revved the engine to try to get it to work, but it would not budge. The creature was now in eyesight, and along with it was Gordon and Brandon right behind it. The beast and the rest of them ran at us. We were about 20 feet away from each other before the engine started. It started, and we drove off slowly into the distance to see the creature and my 2 friends screaming and yelling at us. A tear came down my cheek as reality set in that I had lost almost everything I had in my life. I turned to my right to talk to Mitch, but he was not there. Instead, sitting in the passenger seat, he was staring back at the town. When I asked if he was alright and turned him around, his eyes were bloodshot. He bit me right before I pushed him off the boat into the propellers. They were broke and sliced him to pieces. So we'll write this, not knowing how long before I turn. But if for some reason you get this mad idea we did and are reading this, run. Run now and never look back. I feel the change coming. Don't make the mistake we made. Just turn back
and save yourselves.
The end. Alright, let's take a look at the chat. Tall people have advantage because this event, in the event they get stranded on an island. Stranded on an island when, like, their boat crashes or something, they can reach the coconuts on the palm trees. Oh my god. Sharky. Aw. Well, thank you for coming by, Sharky. Hope to see you again soon. Remember, stay safe and stay protected. Good thing I'm 60 feet tall. Shut up, bleep bloop. God. Oh, Warrior Princess Dragon Kelchner. What's up? I hope you're still in the chat. Yes, that was good. It's going to give subject some interesting nightmares tonight. But yeah, that was definitely a long read. Yeah, that was good. And if you want to hear it again in video form, you can check out my channel. It is known as 20 Days of Sarsha. Of course, I'm thinking about doing remake because it's supposed to say Sarsha and it keeps saying Sarsa. So I kind of fucked up there. But yeah, that was my first video. That was a fan submission. And I'm hoping to do more in the future. And my throat's a little dry, so I think this is a good story to go out on for tonight. I want to thank everybody who came here, especially those who were being trolls about it. Thank you for being patient with me, and I'm glad everybody came out. I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Princess Dragon. Thinking about yeah, I'm thinking about shutting it down for tonight because I think I strained my voice a little too much. I'm glad you had fun, Smiley. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here. So I thank everybody who came out, supported me, and I love you all. So I'm gonna end with the usual. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy. Also, if you want to catch my shenanigans or look out for future updates, I'm skipping ahead a little. And don't forget to hit that bell for future videos and live streams. And if you ever want to do check out what I do behind the scenes, or just catch my random goofiness, or just hear my shoutouts, you can check out my social medias on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat if I ever get the link up. But also, if you want to see this channel go a little bit further in quality, you can consider donating to my PayPal. Patreon's kind of questionable since they're in deep shit right now, and I'm thinking about switching over to Subscribestar. That's a little too loud. But Patreon will be on hold until further notice. But to continue on, if you have a story you have written down by yourself and you want it narrated by yours truly, you consider submitting it to me through email at the.evil.outcast84@gmail.com, or submit it to my subreddit at eviloutcast at r/eviloutcast stories. With that said, thank you for everybody coming out, and remember, I'll be seeing you all in the shadows.